episode of Starseed Activations. And so we are just ever so gently going to start off with just a brief meditation. Now, this meditation allows us to really open and expand the heart chakra system. It also allows each individual watching this video throughout time and space to allow the star people to fine-tune your energetic grids and allowing you to slightly raise your biological frequency so that the frequency of the knowledge of the channeling can be at a higher degree, allowing for the best information possible to come through the channel. Beautiful. So everybody watching, I want you guys to just take a deep breath in. And when we release, we shall release with a Om. And one more deep breath in. Beautiful, dear ones. And now we will just start the channeling. So tonight we are going to be covering page 108, Shade Veils. This is once again in my book, My Ascension Guide. Beautiful. And so let's just start and read a little bit so that you guys can see. Now, a shade veil is a frequency the consciousness of an individual holds, which directly impacts their perception of reality. So basically what that means is we have density on our energetic grids, which in turn, it doesn't allow us to radiate as much love and light as we potentially can. Now, this is very important because when we're able to radiate a higher frequency of love and light, it will actually change the perception of the physical reality as we see things. And now what that means is, let's say, for an example, we take into consideration that your physical items that you may own is a direct representation of the biological frequency that you are holding. So if you are holding a lower frequency, you may start to notice different items breaking or falling out of your life. Now, sometimes an individual may notice that an item is with you when you're in a higher frequency range. You may drop your frequency and then you're no longer in alignment with that high frequency item. So you may put it in your closet. When then you go through a healing, you may raise your frequency. Then all of a sudden it allows for that item to come back into your life when you're a frequency match for it, which is fantastic and wonderful. Now, every single item has a frequency coding. We always must be in alignment with the item. Otherwise, our natural intuition is going to generate a type of knowledge or thought form, the star people are calling it, which makes us feel like we want to get rid or give away of whatever item it is. Now, your shade veils, it basically is, this is what shadow work is, and this is how we dive in deep to remove the traumas, and it really allows this form of density to lift off of us, which is beautiful. So now, this shade or veil vibrates into the individual's energy grid structures and is directly connected to the subconscious mind. Removing the shade will bring the individual closer to the original source frequency coding. For when all aspects of the shade are removed, the individual shall perceive the reality as a source code of light. And so we speak about 5D frequencies. Now, 5D frequencies is when we have the ability to instantaneously manifest any item, person, place, or thing that we see fit. This is all controlled by your emotions. Your thoughts generate an emotion. So a thought is technically connected to the emotions, and they both work as a very balanced system. One is electrical in its nature, one is magnetic in its nature. And so when we put the two together, we see a reflection of your entire physical form because your body is made of electrical and magnetic currents. Now, electricity pumps through the heart. Magnetism also flows through the heart. Your brain waves are electrical in their nature. However, in the center tubule of your heart chakra flows a type of current that directly connects your higher self into your biological form. There is also tachyon particles inside of the heart, and those tachyon particles, they resonate above time and space. So whenever you hear us speak about being able to control or modify time-space abilities, which each human in this reality currently has access to do, is controlled by your emotions, which comes from the heart. It's magnetized. So this is how we do it. It's that lower place in the heart, because there's actually 2 heart chakras. The upper one controls your thermostat and your heat sensations. The lower one is the seat of the soul. This is where the higher self can flower open inside of the heart chakra system. When the higher self flowers open, it actually allows for the perception of, it's more like the unconditional love of the source frequency, which completely washes over you. And when you open your eyes in the morning, you feel a type of exhilaration to be in the world that you currently are existing in, which is beautiful. And we wish for each of you to experience that at some points of your life, because being excited to be here during this time, during this evolutionary shift, is of high value for all of us. Now, the next, let's see. There are many layers of veils, and each one is set to frequencies which allow for certain expressions to manifest into the individual's life or timeline. An expression is like an experience. It's an expression of the source frequency, and an expression can also be an experience with different emotion codes. So let's take, for an example, if somebody had, damn, Nancy, I am early. I thought it was 7 o'clock. This is the second time I've done this today. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm an hour early. I looked at my clock earlier and I saw 4 o'clock, literally. And then all of a sudden my friend is like, it's 3 o'clock. And I was like, so I sat down behind a computer and I was like, it's time for the Zoom. It's 7 o'clock. And now I'm looking at it, 6 o'clock. There's got to be some quantum shifting happening in my reality today, because it's wonderful. Well, let's continue because we're already here. Okay. It's so funny. Veils may be manifest in multiple ways. Each item you consume into the physical body vibrates a frequency into the shade veils and may either lift the shade veil or distort the shade veil. This may be seen by eating lower vibrational foods and feeling slow or a lack of energy. This is also known as a distortion. The process includes any information the individual digests as well. For all information shall affect the memory complex and may remove or activate a shade veil. Now, basically, that means if you're reading, let's say I know people, we'll just say that. I know people who read like war books, and the war books are very graphic. It's like this big. It's like War and Peace. And you open it and you're reading and you're putting your imagination in that frequency of that brick of consciousness is what it is. And so when you engage in dark material, whether it be like horror or any of those dark themes, then all of a sudden it starts to change or modify the way that you think and the way that you feel, because a part of you now starts a manifestation process. When we are engaging in higher frequency knowledge, which is when we are focused on love and light or science and education, that too, it expands more and more knowledge into your current reality. So whatever you place your conscious focus and attention on is going to expand. That is a beautiful thing, because let's say that we sit and we focus all day long on activating your extrasensory abilities. That timeline is going to expand. This is what I focus on in my sessions, because all the sessions, it's like, well, these are your attunements to your extrasensory abilities. And this is how you start to activate them, by placing the conscious focus and attention. You'll start to see mirror reflections inside of your life. Now, the mirror reflections are always going to look like, let's say you're talking about something and then you may see it reflect into other people, places, and things outside of you, because that is showing you what your conscious focus and perception is viewing and manifesting, which is beautiful. Excellent. Let's see. During the process of ascension, many individuals have modified or released some of the veils in their energy grids. This allows for higher frequencies to manifest into the mind body spirit complex and allows access of higher consciousness information to unpack into the physical reality. This information usually comes to an individual with the synchronization process. So many of us see like 1111 on the license plates. We also may start to notice time. So 333 is a good one, 222. And all of those are signs and synchronicities that we are actually engaging and interacting with the higher self. This is part of the wake up process because many times people may start to see numbers on a license plate repeat over and over and over again before they even realize that, okay, the higher self is even there. So that's like a wake up call that each of us go through. Many times the light workers, we see 1111 and it's like a call to service, or even 1219. 1219 is specific. It is a call to service. It means that you are being called into duty, whatever duty you signed up for before you came here. Now, once again, that is only a perception. So in my current physical reality, I signed up to be a channel before I reincarnated here on this planet. But if I change my internal circumstances, I can change my vibratory frequency, which then puts me in alignment with a different parallel reality so that everything's all random. So it really is the frequency that you hold and your belief systems, which change or modify the realities that you currently are in alignment to experience. Many times it takes a little bit of time for the new reality to take place. There are some times, right, Noreen, we're bending time. I've done it twice today, and both times I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, did you see that? Because I know what I saw for a fact. So it's absolutely amazing when we start to dive into these higher realities. And many times the memory too, I was talking about this today, Noreen, too. Many times the memory grids will be affected when we do start tapping into that quantum realm. And so anybody who feels as if they are losing their memory, or just ever so slightly, or just having a hard time remembering things, and you're very high frequency, you've done a lot of the shadow work, that could potentially be, not diagnosing anybody, but it could potentially be you're starting to access a memory grid ability. Now, the way instantaneous downloads look or may be perceived is by having a moment in which you completely exit any memory, or like they're showing me it's kind of like all the memory that you have kind of like disappears so that you have more of an empty vessel. And then all of a sudden you tune in and you download memory, because a memory is just a thought and an emotion at once. And so you download that memory in the now moment, allowing you access into having that information. Once again, there's a trust process that must come in place when we start to develop abilities of that nature, because you have to trust that the universe knows what it's doing. When you sit there and you're like, it is okay for me to lose my memory. It is okay for me to not have a memory. And it is okay for me to access the memory instantaneous depending on what I need. That's okay too. And when we start to really step into that divine trust that I have everything I need in the now moment, then all of a sudden, you will always have the knowledge that you need in the now moment. Even if it seemed a little scattery at first, that's normal. There's a process of recalibration in the energetic grids, which must take place in all individuals when we dive into the process of evolution. We start rising into 4D frequencies. Now, this also happened during the day of Lumarius in my reality. And so there was a dropping of the consciousness, which allowed for the memory grids to be completely wiped down to a level 0. This happened. Many people, unfortunately, did expire. And there were some individuals who were properly situated in their Merkabas. Your Merkaba is your energetic grid structure that flows on the outside of your body. It resembles a triangle up and one down, and they are counter rotating, which means they spin in different directions. So when we properly situate our energetic grids and we activate ourselves, we also start coaxing down that higher self, allowing him or her to take the seat in the heart, which flowers open. Your pineal gland also flowers open. The crown chakra flowers open. When we properly align our energy field, it seals the memory grids and it allows for this instantaneous download process to take place. And then we don't have to worry about losing the memory again. That is because what the star people are saying right now, We have to learn how to download fully because it changes the timeline that you're on. And it kind of looks like you sitting there having a conversation. And then all of a sudden, a memory washes over you of a time in which you had sat down and read a book and you had that brick of knowledge inside of you already, but you'll feel it as like a, oh, I know what that is because once upon a time I read a book. That's what that looks like. It's like you are emptying the vessel, and then you're allowing the knowledge to come in the now moment. Now, you have to be doing the shadow work, and you have to really be coaxing down the higher self, or you have to at least have done it once or twice, and then allowing that higher self to keep flowering open your heart chakra. That's key because it's going to allow for the instantaneous downloads of knowledge. He's calling it a packet. It's like a packet of knowledge to be expanded into you because you are emptying the vessel. Now, many times during different solar energetic shifts, we also tell people that the moon pulses your energy grids, which allows the darkness or densities to be removed, allowing for space in the field. When there is an empty space in the field, it shall then allow you to re-download light codes. This light code can be anything from new foods, because that's new information. That's information in the form of physical matter, which then in turn you're going to energetically bond with as you go through the digestion process. However, new information may also be new information from a book. It may be a new friend. It may be a new car. Information is simply light. So when we speak about the memory grid complex, we talk about emptying the vessel. It allows for you to pull new information down. There's many different types that we can do as well, because when you start to live in such a state in which you're more like a minimalist. So let's say you have the very least amount of physical stuff that you can have. And so when you do that, it really does allow for different knowledge to come in different forms because you're consciously choosing to keep that layer of light or energy free in your field, which allows other sources of light to penetrate into. So we can remove the shade veils in many different ways. So now, not to say that any item that you have is a shade veil like a crystal, but if you had 100,000 crystals in your house, it would be overwhelming in your field. And so we want to place that into consideration. They are not necessarily a shade veil because the shade is darkness, but this definitely is a frequency, and too much of any frequencies. Like, let's say you have a lot of paintings on the wall, and then one day you look at it and it looks like chaos energy because there's too much. That can affect us as well. That's okay too. So what we do when we start to recognize that we are having memory, not being able to recall certain memories in the now moment, or even misplacing people's names per se, then what you guys want to do is stop what you're doing, take that deep breath in and out, and then drop in and say, now, what knowledge would you like to fill my energy field with? What am I missing? And then you may receive a download. A lot of times they come in the form of a bright idea, and then it makes you feel as if, oh, okay, so I didn't have that knowledge, but then this is coming in. This is the beginning step of a memory ability. Now, the memory ability goes 10 times deeper because the things that we are truly capable of doing is seeing into the future. And so we have to be able to change or modify the past in order to shift the memory grids right now in the now moment, which then in turn automatically pops you onto a different parallel reality or timeline experience. So allowing ourselves to just be at peace and to hold harmony inside for whatever experience each one of us is manifesting is key. And then just taking these tiny little steps. No one is saying that you have to run the marathon in one leg, in one shot. You just take tiny little baby steps until you feel like you are capable and ready of achieving another one or a bigger shift. That's okay too, right? And then we're all going through this process together. Every single person here, we are all going through the ascension process together. That looks different for each and every one of us. That looks different for me compared to different for you guys, and different from your family members, because some of the family members that we have, they're not even beginning to be awakened. That's okay too. Now, many times when we drop in and we do the energy clearings and the energy work on ourselves, then all of a sudden you can actually change the perception of the family. And so let's take take for an example, your sacral chakra system, which is orange in its coloring. When we do energy clearings and blessings on that energy center, then all of a sudden your family may change the way that they treat you, just specifically because you have cleaned that chakra out. This is a natural process. So the more and more we start to see experience like this, the more and more it's going to unpack and expand, and it's going to allow us to recognize truly and to know it, that if you want to see a change in the outer worlds, you have to go inside and you have to heal yourself first, because healing yourself literally changes the physical matter, which is a location, which is your car, which is your house, which is all of the people that you know, anything that you see, anything that you feel, time and space. It is all controlled by your internal circumstances, which is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Cosmo Girl. Sorry I'm an hour early. I was time bending today. Sometimes it happens. Lynn, welcome. Okay, so we were working on removing shade veils, page 108 in the book for anyone who just made it in. Beautiful. Okay, let's see. An individual may also remove or modify another person's shade veil, but that is a topic for another post and requires a very high energy of love to process. Well, right now, let's talk about it. So other people have densities on top of their field, and many times we are told we cannot heal other people. To a degree, yes, that is the truth. And that's specifically because other people have to be in alignment to receive the healing. Sometimes, on the rare circumstances, but yes, this does happen, the higher self will block a healing from manifesting. And that is specifically because when an individual has a life lesson to learn from that healing modality or whatever pain or disease or any distortion that they do have, then the higher self will not allow another person to come in and heal them, because there's something there that they have to release or learn from. We can sit here and we can cast love and light, which is how we heal people. We can cast so much love and light at the individual, but if that individual is refusing to accept it, it gets shut down and blocked. That's okay too. So every single one of us does have a sense of divine freedom and divine will that we automatically come encoded with. Now, the easiest way to make changes is not necessarily to energetically cast at another person, but it's to cast inward. And so once again, right in that sacral chakra, if you know someone who's sick or injured, you can start to do focus on that chakra in your body and then allow yourself to heal that chakra in your body. Whatever that looks like in the outer realms, in the outside world, that has to be okay, because holding a sense of neutrality is always key. Any time that we hold either a positive or negative neutrality, it changes the manifestation as a whole, because that is what we are calling from releasing resistance. Your video stream is off from your audio, messing with time. Yeah, that's today. And today went so fast too. No joke. Okay, so Facebook is having an issue with the audio. Hopefully it fixes. We'll just say a little manifestation. Thank you, universe, for allowing the video and the audio to completely rebalance itself, allowing all the individuals watching the video to be able to hear very well. Amen. Usa, usa, usa. And so usa means send it to the sun. And no, amen means send it to the sun. And the word usa means it is done. That's a martial arts term, which is beautiful. Yes. Okay, let's see. When an individual starts to manifest higher access to light codes, the visualization of the reality may shift, allowing access to see through the veil structure. This power of sight shall allow for instant manifestation and teleportation to occur. For all time space is connected to perception and is fluid in its nature. That's the end of the post, guys. So what that means is when we start to really, really clean up any and all of the shades and the density that's on the outside of our field, then all of a sudden it really allows us to see through the matrix. what that looks like is doing like exactly what happened to me today. We are bending through time and space. Earlier, I knew for a solid fact, I had just looked at my phone. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then all of a sudden it was 3 o'clock on my friend's phone. And it was like shifting through time and space. That happens too. That has a lot to do with the memory grid and the abilities that we are all being encoded with. Now, many times when we go through healings, we level up. This is a process of leveling up because, like I was telling everyone earlier, you have to release in order to receive. And so releasing resistance. Resistance is holding either a positive or a negative emotion code to a situation, person, place, or thing. Doesn't matter what it is. That's resistance. You're holding a polarity. You have to release it. You have to come back into neutral and you have to just be okay. When we are just okay with whatever wants to be, is, and we're okay with that, then all of a sudden it allows us to manifest into a higher frequency, which is fantastic. So the more and more we can start to hold neutrality. Now, many times we also have to speak about the call to service because we don't want to start engaging in things like spiritual bypassing. So if something is happening in front of you, that's a call to action. And so a call to action doesn't necessarily have to be a person getting injured directly in front of you. It could also be something that you see on TV. And so if you are seeing something dark, it is okay to be okay seeing it. So I'm not going to let anything dark on the television. I'm not going to let it rattle my emotions. I'm going to say thank you for it because you're giving me the opportunity to send love and blessings, allowing that darkness to be transmutated. Now, darkness can be transmutated very, very, very easily. And it's funny too, because when we're in the thick of it and we're going through our shadow work, it's like, all hope is gone, right? And how many times have we thought that to ourselves? It's very common. It's a human thing to experience. And so, but the second that we transmutate it, how many times have you guys had something that you wanted to change in your life? And like you dragged your feet, you were like, I can't do it. I can't do it. This is not going to work. And then all of a sudden when you shifted, you were like, well, it was easy. I just had to become in alignment and really wham and shift it. And then all of a sudden it was gone as fast as it was there. Right. So the truth is that the second that we release the resistance, we stop holding the polarities to whatever experience we're running and we come into neutrality and it's okay. And then we just take baby steps to make ourselves happy. That is all we have to do. Make yourself happy. Because even when it comes down to a lot of people have been discussing diets lately. And so the food that we're eating now, if you can eat your food and be really happy and high frequency, even if you could dance as you're eating it, like a little seat dance, right? And just give thanks and blessings to it. But make sure the entire time that you are energetically bonding with the food, you are in that happy high frequency. What happens is the food ends up transmutating and it's not going to affect your body the same way it would as if you were just grabbing it and eating it blindly. So we want to become conscious creators. That means casting energetics every second of your day, but doing it consciously so that you're fully aware of what emotions that you're running and you are just try your best. And this is the way the star people show this to me. It's like they showed me walking down a side street and then taking like a frequency out of my hands of love and like blasting it at everything in the reality. And they were like, it was like a dance of love is what it was. And what I was doing it wasn't a dream, it was like a vision. But what I was doing was I was raising the frequency of the planet as I was just walking among the planet. And so that totally resonated with me because it was like, well, I do that naturally. And they're like, yes, you do. This is what you do. And we're showing you. And I'm like, thank you. Right. I accept that. I'll take it. I am that. And so when we start to affirm to ourselves, yes, thank you. We're grateful. We're not holding a polarity. We're thanking. Thank you for it. And then I accept it. And then it allows that to fully manifest for us. So we all, even different things we can thank ourselves for. Thank you for allowing me to be a divine being. Thank you for allowing me full access into all of my extrasensory abilities. Thank you for allowing me to start feeling all of my extrasensory abilities. Thank you for allowing me to feel my frequency and to learn and to know how to change my frequency of my entire body in a split second by pulling in a new frequency coding. That is the power that we have. And now I could tell you this for a solid fact because I've done it before, but I've done like, it was a 10-minute meditation, and I pulled in so much energy into my field during that meditation. When I hopped up out of the meditation, I felt like $1,000,000. And I was like, what happened? Because when I went into the meditation, I felt crummy and tired. So we have the ability, whether or not we have to use a meditation to pull that light into the system, or whether we can do it continuously with our eyes open, it's completely up to us. But the second that we are aware that this is a real ability and we can do it too, is the second that it really allows us to start trying. And that's all we have to do is try. Because the more and more you place your focus on it, the more it's going to expand for you. And so just by knowing the information gives you a leg up, because it's okay, other people are seeing this too. Now, I talk to people all the time who have activated the extrasensory abilities. People are doing wonderful things in the world that no one was talking about back in the year 2000. It was like a totally different world back then, or it was for me anyway. But now we have people who are really activating the telepathy. They're starting to have conversations with the star people, or even with their own home star families, because there's tons and tons of different extraterrestrial races here. There's different ascended masters, maybe another one. There's the fairy realm. It's a very real realm. There was one time that me and my friends, we were out in the woods next to like a little lake, and we found a fairy portal, which is when the tree makes a circle. And so it looks like a complete circle between two trees. And when you touch both of the trees and you speak certain words like, thank you for allowing me access into the fairy realm, all three of us did this at the same time. So it's like a power of three. And then all of a sudden we all saw a white light fling and like fly by us. And we all got excited and started like, oh my God, right? Did you see the fairy? I saw a fairy. And so these things are real. Now, the fairy realm is just a different time space frequency. So if we're doing a fine tunement on our heart chakras, and we do this naturally by asking for access into that realm, it's changing the way that we perceive time and space. So then it's going to allow us access to see these types of beings. Once again, these beings will not let you see them unless you are open-hearted and loving, caring, kind. So you have to be in alignment as well to have the experience. But the more you can do, and the star people are even saying, you have to be loving, caring, kind to change your frequency to a higher frequency range while accessing a fairy realm. Because the higher frequency or higher time space, so it's faster, it's encoded in more love and more light. So you have to hold love and light and have an open heart chakra in order to access this. They're saying this because someone who is going to watch, not someone who is currently watching right now, they actually have Fae family, and they're going to be accessing the fairy realms in order to bring knowledge back from them. And it's more than knowledge. They're also saying that there's different herbal remedies that an individual who is going to watch this video is going to be bringing back for all humanity. That's amazing, because some of the plants that they have there, he's showing me it's like fairy dust, but it's like a type of dust coming off the plant that, like, just for an example, heals different diseases, which they don't want me to name the actual disease, but it's very common, and it is what it is. A very common disease that's very destructive is what they're saying. So different plants can be brought back, because think about the plant. If we can't see the plant because it's in a higher frequency, that higher frequency is faster time space because it's in the Fae realm. Then all of a sudden, if we have access to that realm, we can go there, we can take that plant, we take it back with us. That plant, when it comes back here into the 3D reality, it's going to be a higher frequency plant. Now, all we would have to do is figure out how to reproduce a plant or how to make it into a medicinal medicine. And so that is an amazing ability. Now, I can't wait. If you, whoever it is, just send me a message so I can know who you are. Amazing. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions at all? Just send them in. Okay. We have been focused on inner child healing. And so tonight we are doing the shadow work Zoom. It's at 8:30. I mean, hopefully I'm on time for that one. And so my good friend Evelyn is also going to be assisting in the shadow work Zoom tonight. So for the first 30 minutes, we'll be talking about archetypes in inner child. We're also going to touch, well, I'm going to touch into some of the topics now with the inner child. The star people are saying time space is an illusion. because it's an illusion, we can start to learn how to control it. Now, many times we speak about making contact and communication with people from the past, your past reincarnations, your past life self. We can also do this to the future. Now, you can speak to your future and you can ask your future self for advice. What are some things that I could do right now that is going to get me to level up faster or be happier, or whatever questions that you want to ask? Your future self will answer all of the questions for you. However, you have to recognize who you are right now, and the future self that you would be summoning right now is giving you right now advice. That advice is good for you in this now moment. The second it becomes tomorrow, your frequency could be totally different and the advice could shift. So this is where everyday practices and everyday modalities come into place, because it kind of is like, what can you tell me about today? What can I do today, right now, in this frequency that I'm holding to change or better myself today? And you just kick back in your chair, just close your eyes and just allow the thoughts to pour into your consciousness. Now, many times, if you want to start out doing 3 ohms, like we did at the beginning of the video, that opens the heart chakra, and it's just consciously imagine emptying the vessel of knowledge. Clear your mind, blank your mind out, and just om, I'm cleaning it out, and then try and make contact. And that contact, you could be sitting with a pen to paper as you're doing this process. You could write it down, or you can even have an audio recording so that you can speak the words as you're hearing them. It is a form of channeling. Now, what you want to look for is, what are some things that I can do to heal or to make my life better, or what is my highest passion in the future going to be? And then see if it resonates with you now. If your higher self tells you one thing and you're like, nah, that's not really me, just sit with it a little bit of time and see how you feel. And if it doesn't feel, scrap it and then ask the question again tomorrow. If you keep getting the same answer like 3 or 4 days in a row, write it down and start exploring the topic, because that means that someone somewhere is trying to tell you something. So many times, like if someone would have told me I would be a channel, I was like, that's crazy. Right? And so I wouldn't have believed you at a certain point. But now it's like, it makes total sense. So when we start to really do that, the future self can give us advice, can give us answers. It can also assist us in teaching us how to do extrasensory abilities, which is the most important thing. Because if your future self knows the steps that you took so that you can activate your extrasensory abilities, and you start sitting down and having full-blown conversations with your future self, thank you, future self, for teaching me how do I unlock this ability inside of me. Because each one of us has our own unique way to unlock our own abilities. It's your path. You have to make it what it is for you. I have to make mine what it is for me. So asking your future self, how do I unlock it? They're going to tell you, this is what I did, X, Y, and Z. And if it worked for your future self, it should work for you. 9 times out of 10, it's going to work for you. So start asking questions like that. See what the future self is going to say. The future self may even tell you something like, I didn't do anything. Something happened, and then all of a sudden it was here. That's okay too. So then ask the future self, well, what is it that I could do to at least help the process? Or maybe, can I do anything differently so that maybe I can activate more abilities? And then just wait for that future self to give you the answers that you are seeking. Now, you can also do this with your past self. So just imagine that there's a message that you would send to like the version of you who's back in high school. Right? So you can start to tell that version of you, well, it's going to help you if you do X, Y, and Z and don't mess up here. And so it may not change your frequency here in the now moment, but it may make your heart feel a little bit lighter knowing that you are giving guidance to the younger version of you, so that that version of you in his or her reality doesn't end up in the same place that you are, or it at least advances their path. Who knows, whatever that looks like. So you have to realize, when we start to make contact and communication with the past and the present, we don't need technology to do it. All the technology you need for everything is built inside of your body. We have the most advanced bodies in the entire universe. And that goes with the star people's bodies as well, because their bodies are the same as us. It's DNA light encoded. So we have a light vessel. It is not physical in its nature by any sense, because the atoms and molecules, everything is under a state of movement or vibration. Now, when we start to recognize this, we can take information from any place as we see fit, and then we can feel into the heart chakra to see if it's in alignment with our highest and best. If it is in alignment with our highest and best, then we keep it. I want each and every one of you guys to start using your intuition in that manner. Ask yourself, does this sound right to me? Does it feel right to me? Is it something that's useful? Or is it information that, like, yeah, that's great, but I can't use it in my everyday life? If you can't use it in your everyday life, don't even bother engaging with it. Now, sometimes, I mean, the information the star people give us, sometimes it's really like advanced. And they always tell people, just sit in the frequency of the transmission, because it encodes your subconscious mind and it automatically starts a process of manifestation for you. And then usually that's why I'm an activator. That's what the star people call it. Not me. They've given me that name. But then they say, as a person goes through their evolutionary processes, they usually get like triggered and they're like, oh, that's what she was talking about. And so then it makes sense. And that process of making sense, that's the activation. It's like you already had the knowledge inside of you, you just didn't know you had it. And so now it makes it a process of remembering, because you go through this whole evolutionary shift of raising your consciousness and releasing and receiving. And then all of a sudden, it's like everything clicks. It's like a light bulb. That's what an activator does. And so it doesn't mean that we can change each other's timeline, although actually I've actually had experiences where someone did. And so I had a lady heart hug me, and her manifestation since she was a child was always, I only want what's best for you. And she walked around telling that to people all the time. When she hugged me, I felt a deja vu, and it looked like a time-space ability had manifested. And then all of a sudden, it was like, I felt like my frequency had raised and I was in a parallel reality. And then the channeling I did that night was very, very high frequency. So other people can change our frequency. We have light encoded people who do that, and we have dark encoded people who do that. We know the dark encoded people because when they walk in a room, we feel it. It's like, oh, there's darkness. There's, a lot of chaos there, a lot of turbulence. You feel it right away. But the light encoded ones, sometimes they feel very charismatic. That's okay. Ones with heart-based abilities, you wouldn't feel it because it's like hiding in plain sight. But when they heart-to-heart hug you, then all of a sudden your body changes and you shift into a parallel reality. It's genius the way it works. Now, if you can get a person, the star people are saying this now, and I'm like, that's genius, right? I'm like lighting up. I have to make a phone call after the live. If you can get that person to take a crystal and to like heart hug the crystal and like program that frequency into the crystal. And then we take any crystal and we can seal it. And so the owner of the crystal has to do this. You make one of the sides of the crystal, because my crystal here has 6 sides. So this crystal can accept 6 different programs into it. And so a program looks like, thank you for keeping me healthy. Thank you for storing all memory from every single live when I'm sitting in front of you or throughout time and space. These crystals can actually, a piece of quartz or quasi crystal, you can put a piezoelectric spark under it and you can generate 2-way communication across the solar system. So crystals are very, very, very valuable, very important to humanity as a whole. Now, if and when you have a very high frequency person program one of the sides with a heart activation like that, like this woman has that I know, you then take one of the sides and you program it so that all the programs are locked throughout time and space. That seals the crystal so that no other person can empty the programs. Only the original person who programmed it will be allowed to delete the crystal. That's how programs work with our crystals. So knowing this, we can see it on human-based technologies as well, because we can hook these up to different readers and hook it up to a computer, and we'll see a little bloop on the computer which shows us when we program the crystal that the crystal takes our programming. Now, your energy grids work the same exact way as this, because if you start speaking to your energy field, we could just call it a Merkaba. When we start speaking to the Merkaba, we start saying things like, thank you, energetic grids, for keeping me healthy all the time. Thank you, energetic grids, for unlocking my extrasensory abilities. Thank you, energetic grids, for allowing me access into all memory of all time and space. Thank you, memory grids, for allowing me access into full abundance coding. We start doing that every day, and then feel. When you breathe, feel the field outside of your body. What does it feel like to you? It's important for you to recognize what you feel when you are touching into your field. What I feel in my field is totally different from me. Now, let me ask you something. We can all sit down, just as an example, we can eat ice cream. The flavor of vanilla might taste one way to me, and it might taste totally different to you. And that is because each and every one of us is a different perception of the source frequency. So, knowing that, it means that we filter information very differently. So, your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are all going to be different than any other person in the world because you are unique. It is called a unique identifier, the star people are saying. So, when we recognize that we are all unique, you are the only one who can master your own emotions and your own baseline frequencies. They're calling it a baseline frequency coding. I don't know why that is important, but they're saying it's important to someone who's watching. That's okay too. Now, when we start to recognize that our baseline frequency coding is a collection of all of our thoughts and feelings and may be changed or modified at will, it is going to then allow us access into a full programming of the subconscious mind, as well as programming of the ego self. Because the ego self will always take a sidestep to allow the subconscious mind to run the entire simulation. However, the second that the ego mind becomes aware of the subconscious mind, the process of evolution must take place because now there is an awareness there. The more an awareness will show up, it will then allow for a type of physical reality in which the individual starts to make changes or modifications, believing that the reality is one with the user. And so, what that looks like is knowing that everything on the outside of your body is connected to you. And it basically, the second that you know, and I'm talking like you know for a solid fact, the second that you know that every single thing in this world is you, you start to see mirror reflections and you start to see, well, if I don't feel good, my plant may lose a leaf. If I'm having emotional disturbances, my water may have a disturbance. And so your hot water heater may break. You may notice your car's radiator break. That's your thermostat. That's in the heart chakra, right? But we start to notice these mirror reflections, which gives us more and more perception of, oh, I am the simulation. Okay, that's how this is working. And then we go through different solar alignments because the alignments in the world on the outside is pushing us to see more and more of ourselves. And it's a beautiful, beautiful process to go through because it's like, it is a process of remembering who you truly are. You are the lakes, you are the sea, you are everything, you are every person. And that's in my reality. I say that I am this, I am that, I am, because I am all these things. But in your reality, you still are an independent soul slipstream, the star people call us, or a child of light, they call us. And so in your reality, you have to take it from that perception as well. I am that, I am you, I am you, I am you, because you are that light in that item or person or place. And so now just imagine and visualize, if we're talking about a location, imagine and visualize that location having an energetic cord latched into you. If there's something about the location that's at a lower frequency, send it love and light through a energetic cord. You can see it, you can perceive it, you can imagine it. Your imagination generates worlds. We don't recognize right now how strong the human consciousness is, but when you sit down and if you imagine something, it is a form of telepathy. You are not actually imagining anything. All thought forms already exist in the simulation. So when we imagine, what we're actually doing is we are seeing something that is real somewhere in the simulation. So let's say, for an example, you sit down and you imagine a beach. Maybe the sand is purple. Maybe there's two moons. Maybe there's a beautiful orange sunset. And then you may find out later on in life that that is a real planet that you reincarnated from. That's how this works. All thought forms are already here. Nothing is new. Everything has been here throughout time and space because time and space is an illusion. Now, all knowledge is written in the Akashic records. The Akashic records can be accessed through your DNA subsystems. So, diving into the DNA holds all memory of all time and all space here on this planet Earth. The whales also can access all of Mother Earth's history, as well as a history from whatever planets that they migrated from. They came here for a reason. They're very high spiritual beings. Dolphins as well came here from different extraterrestrial planets. And so they came here. And it's funny because you'll hear like different fisher TikToks and they're like, the dolphins are so smart, they never get caught, but they follow the fishing nets and they eat all the fish. So what kind of IQ does an animal have to never get caught? A lot of times they get harpooned and that's how the dolphins get fished. They're not hitting in a net. So it's wonderful. Yeah. And actually dolphins, they can actually assist in human births. And so the dolphins will circle the mother, generating a type of sonar that makes a child's IQ very high. And it also assists in reducing the pain and such when the mother is giving birth. Now, once again, the dolphins have been known to circle whales. And so there was once a whale that was being hunted by sharks because the whale was in the middle of giving birth. And the dolphins formed a circle of protection around the whale to protect them. And so it kind of makes you think, it's like, wow. So the dolphins protect, they work as a team. Where did 100 dolphins, it's just a random number, but where did that many dolphins appear from? How did they all know to follow the whale and to circle her to save her life? So we really want to start treating animals, especially ones of that caliber, with a certain degree of, when we look at them, they see right through us because we don't know if they're even seeing our energy field. They have to be seeing our energy field because they know. And yeah, they do know because I had a personal experience. My starman just checked me. He's like, they know, all right. It's so much fun. Yeah, I had an experience. We went swimming with the dolphins, and the dolphin did not like one person, and the dolphin shook her head no, because the dolphin had to give the person a kiss, and the dolphin was like, not happening. And the person, she called it, she came in hot. And so when you have like an energy about you, the dolphin can feel that energy, and so they are telepathic. There's different types of communication the dolphins are capable of doing. The sonar is just the beginning of it. So we can start to tell even the whales, the frequencies that the whales communicate with, they send that frequency over miles and miles, vast distances, and then they all communicate together with one another. So just imagine that they're able to communicate like that. Now, what happens when we open and unlock the pineal gland and all of a sudden we can communicate with them as well? What happens then? So then we don't have to be in the ocean to communicate with the whales and the dolphins. That means that they're telepathic in their nature, and we can really just sit down, even if you're at the beach, and you can project or cast your consciousness to allow for the most localist dolphin or whale to make contact with you. So these things are very real. They're very possible. They were here on this planet once upon a time because we can see cave drawings, as well as mermaids are real as well. But we don't call them mermaids. We call them aquafarians. They live under the ocean at very extreme deep temperatures or deep heights. I think that's the word, height. Depths, he's correcting. In the extreme depths of the ocean, that's where they live. And they're telepathic in their nature and they're extraterrestrial in their nature. And it's absolutely amazing. There's different types and they're from different planets. There's many different water planets in the solar systems because there's multiple. And the second that we take a look at our system, there's other universes up there as well. Now, the way that this entire system goes is like this. And I have explained this before, but we look at our solar system, we look at our universe, and then we look at the surrounding universes. That's all one celestial being. So every single thing in this simulation that we can see, as well as some things we can't see. So like the astral realms, all of that knowledge, because it's all light, it's all dark matter, it's all knowledge. The second that we recognize all of that is very similar to that of a human body. The human body is trillions and trillions and trillions of cells. our planet is one cell. Each one of us is one cell in the celestial. And so the second that we start raising our consciousness, you may have heard other people say, oh, your consciousness will eventually be a planet. And then it will eventually be a sun. And then it will eventually be a black hole. It will eventually be this. Just imagine your consciousness is rummaging through your body right now. And so, oh, you may be a toe, you may be a finger, you may be a tongue, you may be an eye. And then all of a sudden, when you go through all the different systems, all the different universes, then you become a celestial. And the celestial is very similar to what we are right now. We're human. So we're not thinking about all the cells inside of our body, but there's trillions and they're in there. And so that's how the celestial works as well. They don't think about all the planets and all the tiny little people. Although if the celestial wants to sit down and meditate, they can access any of that knowledge at any given time. Now, the ringer is that the second that you become aware that there's a celestial being that's in control of everything that we see in this reality, it really opens and expands your mind, because the star people are telling us there's multiple celestial beings, which means that there's not only one. Now, the celestial being is the source frequency, which we would call God, right? So we've always been told, and we always, especially me, I always had the belief that there was God. And then it was like, I was atheist for a while, and then I learned the science, and then it was a source frequency. And that made sense, because it's like, oh, it's a source frequency that connects everything. And then now the star people are like, that's a celestial being, and there's different and many celestial beings up there. So that leaves parallel realities. And think about it. And the star people, this is how it all works, because like it just dawned on me, like they're just like bright idea moment, right? It's a download. And so in every parallel reality, there's a different frequency. In some parallel realities, the physics, they're saying the physics is completely different. If the physics are completely different, that's a different celestial being. So our individual consciousness can change, shift, or modify our frequency to allow our consciousness to exist or experience a different celestial being. But still, we are able to grow and evolve and eventually become that celestial being. And when we go through that process with one celestial, that consciousness may choose to fade back in and do it again inside of another one. That's okay too. This is what the Yuga cycles give us the opportunity to do as well. A Yuga cycle is a solar cycle, which is in this universe as we see it, but it happens all over every single universe. It allows us to grow and expand, and then like a breath out to contract. And so our knowledge expands, and then we slow and we go back to sleep. So it's like a duality, because this is the reality that we are currently existing in is duality. There's light and there's dark. There's day and there's night. This is one celestial being. This is how the physics work here. That does not mean that it's going to work like this everywhere else. Beautiful. Does anybody have any questions? I know this was deep. This is deep topic tonight. Excellent. You feel like your head's going to explode? That's fantastic. 5:55. It feels good, whatever it is. Beautiful. Okay. There's no questions? I know that happens a lot. So the star people usually answer all the questions earlier. I had a question earlier. I don't know if you saw it. Can text it out again? Talking my language, great information. Thank you for listening. I needed this. Brain wanders so bad. Do you have any recommendations to help stop the brain running on? So a quick Om. That's one that opens the heart chakra, coming back into thankfulness and gratitude. Many times, whenever you feel that way, see, many people would diagnose that as like ADD, but it's actually a superpower, because it's a part of the string work or ability. When you could focus on multiple different points of observation at once, it'll actually allow you to pull the strings to make the manifestation come real. So, and once again, many times, especially with like ADD, those kids do better in the outside world. And so when they're seeing different points of observation, if they're sitting in the room, they're seeing the same pieces of information day in and day out. Of course, their brain is not set to work that way. They're meant to be in the now moment and be outside or engaged in some sort of conversation or activity, because then they can see the solution and then they can manifest a solution. The thing that the school districts don't tell us is that the kids who are ADD, if they were in a crisis experience and they had to figure out a way to like take control of an entire group and like fix things so that we all survive, those children are the ones who do that. They don't belong in a classroom at all. They belong outside. They belong learning about the earth and the everything. And then not only that, but it's like trial and error. Put them under situations where they have to use critical thinking. It's beautiful. So sometimes, we want to stop our brain from running on, but what if you embrace it? What if you bless it? What if you say, thank you for giving me this brain, and thank you for letting me see what it can do? Try reading 3 books at once, right? And I'm not talking about sitting there read 1 page from each book and see how much knowledge from each page that you retain. If you can retain the knowledge from all 3 pages, it's a superpower. Now, as far as also the brain goes, I would also do my research on monoatomic gold, because that's something that I personally use. I don't make it. I don't get paid. I'm not a paid spokesman or whatever you guys call it. I'm a customer. And so I buy it. And the monoatomic gold I use is called Energold. It is slightly pricey, but I've always found that it helps with my memory as well as my focus. So that's something. When you use monoatomic gold, I had to take it for 30 days. On the 30th day of taking it is when something changed in my mind and I felt enhanced. I felt like I started to remember everything like an encyclopedia. I was taking it a very tiny, tiny, tiny dose in the morning, first thing, and a very tiny dose at night. Now, it brings oxygen into your system. We could see this scientifically. The second you take it, there's more oxygen hitting the cells. Oxygen heals. Now, when the body has more oxygen in it, it starts to heal all sorts of diseases and distortions. We're going to leave it there, but just research breath work, research monoatomic gold, and really just see how you feel after you take it. It's beautiful. Energold, ENER, gold, GOLD, and that's on Amazon. That's the guy who sells it. Well, I don't know his name. That's his brand. Okay, I think she said... Where was the question? Because I think she wrote it back and it's like passed. So I feel like my consciousness is raising and I'm able to see sparkles and chips and other phenomena. I was just curious to what this meant. That means you're starting to see the sparkles and the chips and the other things. You have to be in alignment to see a UFO. So that means that you have to be fine-tuning your frequency, otherwise you won't see it. You could have 2 or 3 people standing together. 2 people could see the UFO, the third person won't. That's because you have to be in alignment to see them. And so a lot of times they will allow you to see them. And it's just, you call them. A lot of times they tell me to tell people, please do a meditation. Please open your heart. Please focus on love and light. And then please gently and humbly ask the star people to show themselves to you. If they can, they will try. And so there's a lot of working parts in the system, and we cannot expect the star people or any extraterrestrial race to just show up, just to show up or for ego reasons or any of that stuff. So you have to be heart-based, you have to be focused on love, and you have to just be grateful for when they do come. There's always a reason. Is this the end of the live, or are you doing it for another hour? No, I'll probably take a break, feed the kids. My kids, they always, they wait for me. We bought, I don't know if it was a full moon, but my son's TV, I don't have a TV in my room. I gave it away. So of course you give something away and then you have to replace it. And so my son's TV, I sat down to play Mario with him, right? And after like 20 minutes, I was like, I can't do this, because the TV kept having black lines and it kept like freezing in the middle of my jumps. And, it's like, oh my God, you're messing up my game. This is Mario from like the 90s, right? This is old school, so I could play with them. And so yesterday I was like, I'm going to buy them a new TV. Merry Christmas. This is what you guys are getting. So I bought them a brand new TV. And at the end of the night, the TV was like, boop, done. It just died. It shut off and it would not turn back on. And so today I was like, we have to return the TV that I just bought. And so it was a high sense, like high and sense. This way you guys know, don't buy that one from Costco. And then I went today and I got a new TV. So they are like waiting for me to come and set this thing up so that we can play. And I bought like The Lion King and I bought Aladdin, like from the 90s. And so they have been playing these video games and they're like, what do you mean you only get 3 lives? Like, this is really hard. I'm like, our video games, you had to like play it and you had to learn the video game because you only had 3 lives. And you would get to a certain point and it was like if you died 3 times, that was it. You had to start the whole game over. And so it's a totally new experience for the kids. And it's just fun to watch them because it's like it brings back memories of when I was learning it, you know, when I was a kid. So it's just it's beautiful. This is what we do. My kids are homeschooled with me, so we focus on all sorts of different things, and video games is one of them. Yes, thank you, Danielle and the Star family for these teachings. Okay, so Paige says, I'm extremely ADHD. So we have to always watch our words because when we start speaking I am, we always want to do it with many love and blessings. So I am love. We have everyone double tap the heart. I am loved. Double tap the heart. I am blessed. Double tap the heart. Whatever affirmations you guys want to do, double tapping the heart releases hormones and it releases a frequency into the entire biological form, which allows that manifestation to program more rapidly. When you double tap the heart, it is like the heart skips a beat, the star people are saying. And so if you ever like met the person of like your dreams, like your soulmate, you may notice that your heart may skip a beat. And so that's what we are trying to invoke when we double tap the heart. It's like your heart and your energy field thinks that your heart is skipping a beat. So it imprints your field of energy. So that's why we want to utilize positive affirmations and then double tap the heart because we are coaxing up an emotion code and we are allowing that emotion code to become a part of us, which is beautiful. Yeah. Okay, we are having an existential moment. I had a question earlier. Let me see. No, we got that one. Thank you, Danielle. Yes. Okay, I've apologized for it most of my life. So I used to always say I'm sorry. And then I noticed that I am sorry, right? And then that turns into another one of those manifestations. It allows the attachments on. So I am sorry, get off and go home. We throw the attachment off. And now what I say, I love you. I will change my patterns of behavior. That is all. This way, I am not summing up that attachment or that experience, you know, over and over. You say it once or twice, and then all of a sudden you're saying it every 5 minutes. It's like, no one wants to do that. That's an attachment. Many of us humans currently incarnated lived in different celestial systems. Simone, yeah? Are we currently ascending? Every single second is an opportunity to ascend. I'm living proof of that because if you guys would have seen my life in 2019, I was a cripple. I was in pain. I thought it was going to end, you know, and that's okay too. And then you take the baby steps and sometimes you have to utilize your will. The star people didn't come down to me to heal me or any of that or really make themselves like that known until, I mean, I have heard them, I had channeled them, but it was totally different. I had to quit smoking. And I had to quit my heavy hitters. So I had to come off pain medicine. I had to quit the cigarettes. I had to stop taking kratom. And I had to make changes to show that I was willing to go through the healing process. You have to do that. You have to take steps. You have to do, you know, real physical things in the real physical life so that you can better your position in your life. And so there's no joke to that because it's like basically you're telling the world, I can do this. And it doesn't matter how many times I fail. It doesn't even matter if I tell myself I can't do this. It doesn't matter because when push comes to shove, there's like a little switch inside of you that flips and you're just like, I'm going to do it. Especially if someone tells you that you can't do it. It's like, that's the easiest one. It's like, bam. Oh yeah. Right. Like I made my website in less than 24 hours because someone told me I couldn't do it. So it, you know, we have to take the positive emotions and the negative ones and just manifest with them positively. And so it's taking all of that emotion and channeling it into something positive. Each and every one of us can do it. And that's filling your cup more and more with optimism because it's like, how do you feel when the world tells you you're wrong? And then all of a sudden, you know that you're right and you proved it. You feel better inside because you went through the experience. Now, it's the same exact thing. So we take these tiny little micro experiences and we really channel it into something great. I love playing Nintendo Switch with my sons. I have a son and a daughter, so they're 10 and 12. That's what we do. I couldn't believe I got them playing my old games. It's like, and they're excited. Thank you, Danielle and the star people. I will change this. Tell me again. You say, I love you. I will change my patterns of behavior. Marianne says, hi, Danielle. Much gratitude for your beautiful messages. My 7-year-old nephew, nonverbal. Could you please help me understand why and how I can communicate with him? Well, I could tell you this for a solid fact because I do this with my daughter accidentally. And so we have a thought slipstream. That slipstream is like all of the thoughts coming into your mind, but it's like your density levels takes you up and down, and then you're tuning into a different thought slipstream depending on what your density levels are. So when we start to see people who are nonverbal, okay, so if you can't use your mouth, then you can still use your brain. And so sit with him, meditate with him, look him in the eyes, and just be very still and very quiet. Now you have to be the one to unlock it, because in his mind, you don't know. He may even be in contact with extraterrestrials, having full-blown side communication with other beings, other worldly beings even. And so we don't know what they feel inside of their mind. There is technology on this planet that can read brainwaves. Now, it's already in the Apple phone. And I say this with 100% confidence because I know for a fact, because I have had thoughts in my mind of different products, and then all of a sudden I get advertisements for it. So that right there tells me I didn't speak that product out loud. I thought it. So you guys know. So in time, that technology is going to be put to place for nonverbal people, because if we can pick up on their brainwave, we can see what they're thinking. That means that there's a form of two-way communication that can then take place. But if a computer or a piece of technology could do it, so can your mind. That's how powerful we are. So sit down and meditate with him. Ask the star people to help you to communicate with him, because the star people will assist. You just have to be open to it. Yes. And it's a blessing, the star people are saying. I know it may seem like a curse, but any extrasensory ability, including the nonverbal children and the autism and all that stuff, like I said, it seems like a curse from a human perspective, but then all of a sudden it turns into a blessing later on in life. So we as humanity will see the blessings to this soon. Okay. People are saying the big flash is coming this month. Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Now, TikTok, I have to plug you in. Okay. So this is an important topic. I pulled the plug out. Hold on, TikTok. You guys get to see my whole room. You see, come on, plug. Let's see. Sorry, Instagram. Okay. I know I was supposed to end it a little while ago, but we'll keep going because this is a solar flash question. The way the solar flash was explained to me, the star people showed me through a vision what the solar flare is going to look like. It looked like the sun, which is a regular white color sun, which is what it is right now. And then it sounded like 3 horns, like womp, womp, womp. That's it. And they said it was a form of gamma radiation. It was like gamma radiation, but it was slightly different. The star people are confirming. Now, the way the solar flash is going to happen, this is being guided by extraterrestrials who can remove a solar flash if it is going to come and cause harm to humanity. And so that being said, we just want to say thank you, dear star people, for blessing and protecting our planet and not allowing a solar flash to hit us if humanity as a whole is not spiritually prepared for it. And so each and every one of us say that, because if we're not prepared for it, it's not a good outlook. Okay. We all want it to come because we want to ascend, but we have to do the spiritual work. Now, what the star people told me was going to happen is some people on the planet now are doing the ascension process, and they are starting to tap into 4D frequencies and 5D frequencies so that they are able to pull down this higher frequency of 5D, which is pure unconditional love and bliss, and allowing that frequency to resonate into the human consciousness grids. once again, we only need like 1 to 3% of the population to be doing this type of work in order to have an impact on the human consciousness grid structure, which is fantastic. Now, we are looking at tiny solar flares that are already happening. They've been happening for a while now. One of those, or many of those, it doesn't matter what it is right now. There may be a medium-sized one that comes, and it really only affects the people who are spiritually prepared to accept that frequency. And so what that looks like is that looks like a bunch of people activating a bunch of their extrasensory abilities. And then you have people like Jesus Christ, not to use that term, but like Jesus Christ walking around healing people and having all of the extrasensory abilities fully activated. So then what's the next thing that happens? Now, all of a sudden, we start showing people, well, these are the abilities that we have because we've activated our grids 100%, or he's saying anywhere from 75 and up activates the extrasensory ability full range. And then we start teaching other individuals how to do the same exact thing. We're seeing this on the planet now. So it really is, if you are properly in alignment to accept this solar energetic, then it will trigger your extrasensory abilities. You do not have to wait for a solar flash. You can do it right now. I've seen things. I've seen instantaneous manifestations. This is a solid fact. I have seen it in my life. Not only that, I have seen the weather patterns change. I have seen people change by doing the internal work on my field. Then all of a sudden, people, places, things outside of me change. Today, I was just telling you guys, time changed twice for me. I knew for a fact it was 7 o'clock. I checked my clock every 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I got to go. I got off a phone call. I was like, it's 7. I even told the other person on the phone, I have the live now. I'm setting up the camera right now. And she was like, yeah, you got to start soon. So like, I knew for a solid fact. And then all of a sudden the camera's and it's an hour before. That's time space. It's becoming very slippery in my personal reality. That is controlled by your heart chakra system. So you have to go into the heart, you have to shine love and light, let it wash over your entire physical form, and then just be at peace. And it doesn't matter. With or without the extrasensory abilities, I'm going to be high vibing and happy. And on the days that I'm not high vibing and happy, there's a lesson there for me. And I'm going to take that lesson and I'm going to learn what I can learn from it. I'm going to do my best to try and heal it. And then I'm going to resume my happy-go-lucky self. My children always say to me, they're like, you're never angry. You're always smiling. Even when I'm yelling at them, it's like, don't do it again, right? And so that's okay too. It's very happy-go-lucky. When you start to do that, you start to notice things, but you still have to go in and you still have to do extensive shadow work, which, thank God, the star people are ready, willing, and able to help all of us to do our shadow work. They will help trigger different memories for us to dive into the memory, and it's like they guide us. Thank you, star people, for guiding all of us through the memories so that we can heal all these different experiences and energetic imprints. When we heal a lot of that stuff, doesn't have to be 100%. When we heal a lot of that, then all of a sudden, it's like we're talking about the density inside of the grid system. We remove that density, then all of a sudden we are able to encode more light or more knowledge into our energetic grid structures. So the more and more that we start to place focus and attention on that, it changes our entire world, because it's like, well, we have to just be at peace with what we have to allow the energy to shift and clear, and it allows new stuff to come in. So being at peace, what does that look like? What do you really need in this reality? What is it that you need? And so I had to take note of, what did I really need? Did I need $1 million? No. Did I need a Mercedes-Benz? No. But did I need a ride? Yeah. And was I fine having a car? Yeah. And guess what? My car, for what it is, it looks brand new. It's like, and people always comment like, wow, your car looks like brand new. Like, I had no idea it was that age. And I'm like, that's because I love and light the car. I'm always washing it. It's nice and clean and sparkly. The paint is wonderful, right? And so it kind of brings the whole meaning to, well, do you need something fancy? Like, what do you need? You start breaking everything down in your reality. Now, I've also gone through different stages where I had to get rid of and declutter my house because I had so much stuff in the house. That's like a thing that we do as humans. We get all this stuff, and then it's like, I have to release. We started the crystal program, started giving away crystals, start giving away stuff. Now, I actually am about to go and buy jackets for a local school by my house over, well, it's in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And so my friend is a school nurse there, and the Star people have been guiding me to get jackets and hats and gloves and do donations for them. And so we also have a website up, Tree of Life Organization, as well as DanielleLipton.com. There's an address if you guys want to send in kids' jackets, lightly used or brand new, or even if you want to donate to the cause. Any donations you guys send in, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy them jackets anyway, but it's much appreciated. And so, we do good things because what do we really need? You know what, the main thing I kept saying in my life that I needed was people, spiritual people who wanted to learn unconditional love, who wanted to sit around and have these types of conversations all day long, and who really wanted to dive into different healing modalities like breathwork and drumming and Reiki and sound healing and yoga and fitness and, and do different things. And then not only just do it for yourself, but do it for the community because you love each other and you want everyone to activate the extrasensory abilities. Because when people do that, TikTok just died, my phone died. But when we do this because we love each other, then all of a sudden the potential shift and we evolve faster. And so this is what the Star people guide us to do. Just be full of love in your heart and then share your heart with the world. That is all we have to do. And then just take the baby steps that you can take to make yourself feel better. Focus on what you're eating. Focus on the water that you're drinking, balancing your pH, do breath work. Do whatever it is that your heart calls you to do that is going to light you up inside. That is all we want to do, right? And then share that light with the world. And with that being said, you guys have many, many love and blessings at 8:30. So it's in an hour and 10 minutes from now, unless my time space changes again. We are doing the shadow work Zoom. My friend, my dear friend, Evelyn, is going to be assisting in the inner child healings. So we'll talk about the archetypes and all sorts of stuff about inner child, future child, and then, or even your child that you have now, making contact and communication with the higher self in order to change or modify the ancestral karma that he or she has to experience. That's what the Star people just said right now. I had no idea we could do that. So we'll be covering that too during tonight's Shadow Work Zoom. Excellent. So you guys have a wonderful night. Let me see. I think the comments stopped. How can I get the Zoom for Madeline? I think that you sent a message in through an email that I don't really use. So you might have to check your email because I think I sent it to you this morning. And I was like, wow, how'd you get this email? But yes, the DanielleLipton.com has a little link that says contact us. And then that takes you to DanielleLipton.com at gmail.com. That's the only email they had available. I don't know who else has my name. Regular Danielle Lipton at Gmail was already taken. So DanielleLipton.com at gmail.com. Or just go to DanielleLipton.com and do contact me. And so, yeah, just email in and I send the Shadow Work Zoom link and I get it before it starts. So if we start at 8:30, at 8:30, I don't check my phone. I just hop right on the Shadow Work Zoom. So yes, but check your email, Madeline, because I believe I sent you one this morning. Okay, let's see. Many thanks for clarifying this because many are misleading and misspeaking of what has been spoken about this. I think that she's talking about the Shadow Work Zoom. Not the Shadow Work Zoom. That's amazing. The solar flash. And so we have to realize and I know that this sounds a little off, but it's not. If you really understood, all information can be true or not true. So just because something is false in our reality doesn't mean that it's not true in someone else's. It's true for them. It's kind of very similar to the whole concept of someone with schizophrenia and they're seeing stuff. And for ages, us as humanity, we've been looking at them saying, wow, they're crazy, because that's not true because we can't see it. But now we're coming into a day and age in which we're recognizing the astral realms. And it's like, wow, you are telling the truth because you can just see into the astral realms. So does that mean that his truth was any false before? No. That just means that we were unable to see into his reality. Now we're coming into a quantum day and age in which we're starting to see into other people's realities, or at least be at peace knowing that they're experiencing what their consciousness is guiding them to experience. It doesn't mean it's true or false. It's similar to any of the old knowledge from like Einstein's day. And so those people believed a certain way and it was true for them, and that was good because it got them to the next level. But when the consciousness reaches a high enough brick of consciousness, then all of a sudden the older sciences become false. Many fall out of alignment because it's like, oh, that's irrelevant information. So we scrap it and we allow new information to come in. But that doesn't mean that that information was false. The apple still fell from the tree and they still called it gravity, and that was fine. But now we understand about levity. So now we understand that there's a push. It's not just falling, it's a push. And that has to do with magnetism and all that and physics. So, but it doesn't discount the fact that the apple seemed to fall from the tree. It's only a perception of a holographic simulation. So all knowledge can be true. It's similar to that of a multiplication table. 1 times 1 equals 1. That was true for so many of us for so long. But what is the definition of multiplication? It is to multiply something. So by the very definition itself, can 1 times 1 equal 1? Not really, because there's no multiplying actually happening. And so when we start to take that into physics, it doesn't make sense when you look at the earth and the physics and the sacred geometry. So Terrence Howard is the one who, you guys should research him. He's the gentleman who was an actor on the Empire movie, and he breaks down the physics, and it's like, wow, what does that guy know? Because he's putting the mathematical patterns into place, and it's like, okay, the math needs to be updated. So, but for a very long time, all of us were okay with 1 times 1 equaling 1. That was our truth in the now moment. So, and this is where we come back into neutral. It's okay for that to be true, and it's okay for it not to be true. It's okay either way. It doesn't really matter. Does it affect me personally? Does it affect my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings? Did it affect my manifestations? Or was I okay with it? I was always okay with it. Even when I found out about it, I was still okay with it. It's like, okay, it's only an experience, right? I'm still going to maintain neutral. But when that information and the math, the correct math comes out, then you could just imagine the technology on this planet is going to be evolved very rapidly because it changes the consciousness of the individual very rapidly, having the true mathematical patterning of the simulation of Earth. Because if we understood the harmonics of Earth and the frequencies and how that can heal the biological form, as well as it can generate light or generate anti-gravity. That's a very interesting world that I would love to live in. That I do live in, the star people are correcting. Excellent. Okay, very good. So it is 7:26. I'll see you guys in 1 hour from now. You have many, many love and blessings and have a wonderful night. If anyone has any questions, you can send them in to daniellelipton.com. Contact me. Anyone who wants to donate to buying the jackets and the gloves, the hats for the kids, I want to do it soon. So daniellelipton.com, scroll all the way down, or even treeoflifeorganization.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a donate now. And so I'm going to do it either way. And it'll be wonderful to do. Excellent. You guys have many love and blessings. Have a wonderful night.